Baubo, the belly goddess. There is a powerful saying, Ella habra por enmindero en las piernas. She speaks from between her legs. Little between the legs. Stories are found all over the world. One is the story of Baubo, a goddess from ancient Greece, the so-called goddess of obscenity. She has older names, such as Lambra, and it appears Greeks borrowed her from far older cultures. There have been archetypal wild goddesses of sacred sexuality in life and death, life fertility, since the beginning of memory. There is only one popular reference to Baubo in writings, existent from ancient times, giving the direct impression that her cult was destroyed and buried under the stampede of various conquests. A strong sense people have somewhere, perhaps, under those Sylvian hills and forest lakes in Europe, and in the East, there are temples to her, complete with artifacts and bone icons. So it is not by accident that a few have heard of Baubo. But remember, one shard archetype can carry the image of a whole. We can have the shard, for we have the story in which Baubo appears. She is one of the most lovely and parquesque of all the highest who lived in Olympus. This is the storytelling version based on the old wildest remnant of Baubo, still glinting in the post-meteorical Greek mythos and the Homeric hymns. The Earth Mother, Dimitri, had a beautiful daughter called Persephone, who was playing out in a meadow one day. Persephone came home one particularly lovely bloom, and reached out her fingertips to cup its lovely face. Suddenly the ground began to shake, and the giant zigzag ripped across the land. Up from deep within the earth charged Hades, the god of the underworld. He stood tall and mighty in the black chariot driven by 4 horses, the color of ghost. Hades seized Persephone into his chariot, her veils and sandals flying. Down, down, down into the earth he reined his horses. Persephone's screams grew more and more faint as the rift in the earth healed over as though nothing had ever happened. The voice of the maiden crying out echoed through the stones of the mountains, bubbled up in the watery cry from underneath the sea. Dimitri heard the stones cry out. She heard the watery crying, and then over the land came an eerie silence, and the smell of crushed flowers. And tearing her wreath from her immortal hair, and furling down from each shoulder from her dark veils, Dimitri flew over the land like a great bird, searching for, calling for her daughter. That night, an old crone at the edge of the cave remarked to her sisters that she had heard these cries that day. One of a youthful voice crying out in terror, another calling plaintively, and the third that of a mother weeping. Persephone was nowhere to be found, and so began Demeter's crazed and months-long search for her beloved child. Demeter raged, she wept, she screamed, she asked after, searched every land formation underneath, inside, atop, begged mercy, begged death, but no matter what, she could not find her heart-child. So she, who had made everything grow perpetually, cursed all, the fertile fields of the world, screaming in her grief, "Die, die, die!" Because of Dimitri's curse, no child would be born, no wheat could rise for bread, no flowers for feasts, no boughs for the dead. Everything lay withered and sucked parched earth or dry breasts. Dimitri herself no longer bathed. Her robes were mud-drenched, her hair hung in dreadlocks. Even though the pain in her heart was staggering, she would not surrender. After many askings and pleadings and episodes, all leading to nothing, she was finally slumped down at the side of a well in a village, where she was unknown. And as she leaned her aching body against the cool stone of the well, along came a woman, or rather a sort of a woman. And this woman danced up to Dmitri, wiggling her hips in a way suggesting sexual intercourse, and shaking her breasts in a little dance. And when Demetra saw her, she could not help but smile just a little. The dancing female was very magical indeed, for she had no head whatsoever, and her nipples were her eyes, and her vulva was her mouth. It was through this lovely mouth that she began to regale Dmitri with some nice juicy jokes. Dmitri began to smile, then chuckled, and then gave a full belly laugh. And together the two women laughed, the little belly goddess Badu and the powerful Mother Earth goddess Dmitri. And it was just this laughing that drew Dritmi out of her depression and gave her energy to continue her search for her daughter, which, with the help of Baubo and the crone Hecate and the sun Helios, was ultimately successful. Persephone was restored to her mother. The world, the land, and the bellies of the women thrived again. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.